Hello there YouTube, PolarBear084 here, back with another episode of A Bear's Guide to Hunting. And today we fight the Pink Rathian, the very poisonous sister of your typical green Rathian. So, much with the Azure Rathalos video, Pink Rathian is a faster, stronger, and generally just more irritable version of your typical Rathian that you'll run into. So it's not going to be incredibly different. We're going to be using a sword and shield, which is incredibly different for us. We are typically great sword or long swords. We did use sword and shield for quite a bit in the older episodes from about 9 years ago now. So if you haven't seen those, they're in the playlist for you. I'll link it up in the top. It's also at the end of every video if you want to go back and see what I was like in the yesteryears. But this is Pink Rathian, a very big version of Pink Rathian actually, very huge. Alright, so as you may have noticed, we didn't actually get any, we didn't get stunned by her roar there, and that's because we have a new set of armor. We have the Azure Rathalos armor, which is probably not putting her in the best of moods really, but it's very, very handy. I don't know if we're going to be able to cut her tail off with how tall she is this round. Last time it wasn't too bad. You can see that she's gonna do a lot of her tail spin or tail swing that she does. She really does like to use that when she's in her pink variation. It's, I think, other than charging, it's her favorite move, I would say. See that charge there that she did? It's a very short charge. It will do the full damage that charge right there would do to you, and then she will follow it up with a fireball, a tail spin, pretty much whatever she wants really. It's very tricky to handle because it can come out of nowhere, much like Azure Rathalos can actually. But anyway, speaking of Azure Rathalos, we have the Rathalos equipment right here. Now you may notice that I'm wearing the cap instead of the helm, and that's because it gives me an extra decoration slot, which allows me to put a second expert jewel in. So we end up with Reckless Abandon +1. So we get Affinity +10. I think it's +10. Let's find out. Equipment detail. Yeah. Affinity +10% for every weapon we own, which is really, really nice. And also is... because we were one point away, and I am losing half the defense on because I'm wearing the cap instead of the Blade Master helmet. But the extra gem and the extra 10% affinity, I think, more than makes up for that little downside, I guess. So that's what we're dealing with here. This is our new armor. It's going to see us through quite a lot of the game, as our Garuga armor did. You can use different armors for different creatures. You can have a fire setup and a lightning setup if you want, because this armor is pretty weak against ice, for example, because obviously Azure Rathalos is weak against ice. Pink Rathian, however, is still weak against lightning, as far as I can tell. So you can have multiple armors for different monsters, for different elements, for different setups. You can do that. It does take a lot of time and effort to set up those different armor sets though. So what I'll typically do is I'll either take an armor that looks cool, which is of course the best way to choose the armor you want to wear, or I will look at the skills it provides to me and think about the weapons that I like to use. So I like to use fast weapons that can have a good amount of affinity. Alright, we did get her tail. Good. We did kind of mainline it a bit, which was intentional. We did want to get that cut if we could. But yeah, I like to use weapons like swords, long swords, great swords, things that do a lot of damage, where affinity and its percentage increase in damage can do a lot of work. Like for example, a 30% increase or 25% increase in damage for a great sword is much higher than a 25% increase in damage for, say, this sword and shield that I'm using. So I like to use affinity with my weapons. Earplug is just a good general skill to have, no matter what weapon you like to use. So we need to block here. You see how she just charged a millimeter and then bit us as well? That's why you need to be very careful of her attacks. And that's also why I am using the sword and shield here. It's good to block her tailspin that she does. It's good to block the instantaneous charging she can get away with. Also, with the tailspin, if you haven't watched Rathian's video, I'll put it up there, the Rathalos and Rathian video. Gives you all the general tips you need to fight both those creatures. But with the tailspin, if you just roll left or right when you see her crouching to the ground like that, you'll almost always avoid her tailspin, especially when you've cut her tail off. It does reduce the hitbox a little. It doesn't reduce it a lot, but it does make it a little bit more manageable. Alright, just going to block the wind there, and then I'm going to get stepped on, but that's okay. Alright, we weren't quite out of the way of her charge there. Her charge does have quite a wide hitbox, which is, again, a reason why I bought the Sword and Shield. It's good to have that instantaneous blocking capability that we have with the Sword and Shield as opposed to the Greatsword. Does leave you a bit more maneuverable, it leaves you a bit more kind of adaptable to situations, which is very good. Also, is she leaving? Yes, she is, okay. The sword we used, sorry I didn't go over this, I was a bit distracted by the armor, is the Kirin bolt Indora, which, while having Kirin's name on it, if I remember correctly, doesn't actually use any Kirin items. It might have used one, but it was mostly ores that it needed, so and thunder sacks, I think. It's pretty good. It's got a lot of thunder attribute for a sword and shield. It's got a good amount of green sharpness, which is all we need for Rathian, for Pink Rathian, that is. Got a Rathian spike, that's nice. And I forgot to paintball her, but that's okay. She's probably heading over to this small area. She loves to fight in this area, mainly because it makes life incredibly difficult for us. Is she leaving? Nope. She's just readjusting. Alright. So, Rathian, you'll find, is a much easier and usually quicker fight than a Rathalos fight. And that's mainly because there isn't really a lot of downtime in this fight. Whereas Rathalos will stay in the air for what seems like hours at a time, Rathian will stay on the ground for pretty much the whole thing. Which means that you have a lot of opportunities to kind of get in and deal some damage. You aren't constantly waiting around for Rathalos to fly around the arena 4 times and then fly in a straight line over you, which pretty much never hits you. But it does also mean that she can chain attack you with pretty frequently, I guess is what I'm trying to say. If she charges you and then tail swipes, which she can do, that it can be a very bad time for you. So it is very much a fight where you want to stay pretty much as close to full health as you can, and you want to keep your hand on that guard button, because you'll need it at a moment's notice. Another thing, another quirk of Rathian, which I mentioned in the Rathalos and Rathian video, but when you cut off her tail, you would expect that the poison would go away. It does not. She can still poison you with the tail spin that she does, even though the poisonous barbs are gone from her tail. I guess her blood is poisonous or something, let's go with that. But it does not prevent the poison. I rolled the wrong way. And so you can't ignore that as a possibility. It does reduce the range though, which I think is probably the best thing you can do. It's very nice to not have to deal with that a lot of the time. If you do get hit by it though, the game does give you some antidotes you can use, which I bought 8 my first time, and the game gives you 2. But I would actually recommend using herbal medicine instead, which uses a bitterbug and a cactus flower. Cactus flowers, as you might have guessed, you can get in the desert, and bitterbugs you can get from the farm, from the poker farm. And the reason I would say it's more useful is because it's quicker to use than an antidote. Which is not something, I shouldn't have been standing there, which is not something that I really thought about until recently. I was playing Monster Hunter Rise, and I kind of had the epiphany that a herbal medicine is an antidote that heals you a little bit and only takes about 2 seconds to use. Whereas the antidote, you have to drink like a potion, and can take a little longer. The effect is more pronounced in Monster Hunter Rise than it is in Freedom Unite. But I think the advice still stands for both games. Alright, we roll to the right, and she can't hit us. Even though we were directly in the firing line of that tail swipe. Okay, that hurt. We were directly in the firing line of that tail swipe. She wasn't able to hit us because we rolled just a little bit to the right. So you shouldn't really ever get hit by that, as long as you are keeping your wits about you, and you aren't in the absolute worst place at the worst time. I really need to heal. Alright, perfect time for that then. That's the other thing about Rathian being on the ground, as opposed to Rathalos being in the air a lot. There are a lot less opportunities to heal, and sharpen even, which is why bringing a sword with a fair amount of sharpness is honestly the right thing to do. Alright, another tail spin here. She can get you if you're behind her, if you're standing where her tail is. Because she swings her tail from there, she can definitely hit you from there if you're standing behind. So don't think that just because you're not right in front of her where she swings, that you are free from damage. Although Rathian is free from damage because I didn't hit her at all with any of those. Another move of hers, sorry, I wasn't really going through the moves because Pink Rathian is pretty much more of the same as regular Rathian, except faster. And with more damage, for sure, significantly more damage. Considering this is an upgraded... Ah, there we go. I was staring at the ground instead of rolling. This is a significantly upgraded set of armor. I upgraded all of them to rank 7. And I'm still taking quite a bit of damage on these hits. So, she can definitely pile it in, that's for sure. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, the fireballs, typically she'll fire just one in front of her, but what she can also do is kind of a 3-shot spread where she'll hit the middle first, and then on her right, and then on her left. So, and they don't travel in a straight line forever, they angle into the ground, so you don't have to worry about them as much as you do maybe Rathalos's fireball, which is aimed in a straight line parallel to the ground, so it will hit you, even if you're pretty far away. So it is definitely something to be aware of. But those 3 fireballs are usually a pretty good chance to get some damage in, because it's one of the few times that Rathian is standing still, and you can be fairly sure, like right here for example, she's not enraged, so she only did 1, but you can be fairly sure that she's not going to hit you with an attack. So the fireballs, while you want to be careful of them, is a good chance to get some damage in there. Let's see. Can I sharpen? Do I have enough time? I do! Fantastic. Really should have done that between areas, but, you know, never said I was prepared or anything. Alright, let's see here. We've broken her face, we've cut off her tail. You can break her wings, although with how big she is in this quest, I don't think we're going to be able to. That was just unfortunate timing, really. I guess that's something I've never really talked about on the channel before. Monsters vary in size. I might have talked about it in one of the earlier episodes from 9 years ago, but I mean, I can't remember what I had for breakfast this morning. So, but anyway, monsters can vary in size between quests, and in fact, that is all recorded in your reference list in the game. And if you fight a very large creature or a very small version of that creature, it is recorded with a silver or a gold crown. Yeah, so I'm just gonna block this. So if it's the largest possible, or one of the largest possible, it will be gold. If it's close to the largest or smallest possible, it will be silver crown. Which is kind of an interesting thing that can happen. So you can end up having one quest where you're completely unable to reach the creature's tail, just because it was the biggest version you've ever seen. And you can have another quest where it's so small you could hit it with a sword and shield. So it's kind of an interesting little thing. It doesn't really affect health, it doesn't affect damage, it doesn't affect anything except how easy or hard it is to hit them and how impressive they look. That's pretty much it. But it is a cool feature, I think, in the game. It's a feature I enjoy taking note of, at least. But we are starting to knock Rathian down quite a bit. We are focusing on these legs a lot, and I think that's coming to fruition now. Sometimes she will fly up into the air to try and reposition. We got stuck on her head, but we were still able to avoid it with a second roll, so that's okay. When she's enraged, she will do it twice in a row, quite frequently, so you do want to keep an eye out for that. Because I thought it was safe, and I just got lucky, really. I could have been poisoned there. There is a little bit of me that does want to be poisoned, actually, so I can show you herbal medicine. But I can just show you after we kill Rathian anyway, because I think we're getting close to it. I'm just going to block it. If she had her tail still, that would have hit us. but because she didn't, we were safe. So that's why focusing on her tail is incredibly important. Much like with Diablos and even Gravios, if you can get rid of their tail... Ah, she's already limping, nice. If you can get rid of their tail, it just makes life easier because it lowers that hitbox for any of those tail spin attacks or tail swing that they do, or anything like that. So it does just make life a lot easier. So Rathian's going to Area 7. I believe that is the area that she will go and sleep in when she is getting weak. I didn't use my Armorskin or Demondrug. I brought them. You can use them if you want. It does definitely make the quest a little quicker, but I was worried that if I did use them this time, the quest would be too quick and I wouldn't be able to kind of talk to you about everything. So, but if you are doing this on your own, you might as well use them. It speeds everything up, and they are fairly cheap. You can grow the seeds that you want. There we go, she did go to sleep. You can grow the seeds that you need, the armor seed and the power seed, in the poker farm, and then the catalysts uses honey and bitterbug, which you can also get from the poker farm. You can also buy the catalysts... Oh, got woken up by a Velocipede. Okay. You can also buy the catalysts from the Wyverian trader that stands next to the Gathering Hall as well. Her stock does trade in and out, so sometimes she will have it and sometimes she won't. But just keep checking after every quest and she'll have them. They're pretty cheap. And honestly worth buying, so you can save your honey for mega potions. Because that's what I use most of my honey on. See if we can't get it to fall over in that direction. Nope, no we cannot. I want to break the other wing claw if we can, but I guess maybe not. There we go. So the other thing about the Azure Rathalos armor is that the helm or the cap both needs a Azure Rathalos wing. And as far as I can tell, the only way to get that is by capturing an Azure Rathalos. At least that's what the wiki told me. I couldn't find it for target rewards or breaking rewards. When you break the wing, you don't get the wing, you get the claw. You get the two versions of the claw. So you would think you'd get it for breaking the wing, but you don't. You have to capture Rathalos. And it's a 9% chance. So, oh wow, that Velocipede stunned Rathian. How about that? So it is quite a grind to get this armor, but the attack up large and the expert and earplugs that you can get out of it definitely make it worth it, in my opinion. They are a lot of very good skills that you want. Even without the gems that I've used, you do get an attack up medium, I believe, and earplugs aren't very hard to get. If you want to use the helm for more defense, you can just give up expert, which is not too bad of a thing. It's only 10% of affinity, but I like to have it. It makes pretty much every weapon able to critical hit, which is, or at least makes the ones that negative critical, makes them less bad. So it's definitely worth it. And then here's the difference in antidote and herbal medicine. So there's antidote. I think actually in this game they're pretty much the same. Yeah, but this herbal medicine heals you as well. So it kind of buffers some of the damage that poison does to you. So I would say bring herbal medicine if you can. Which is, it's not too expensive. It's both the two items that you have, I would assume, a lot of. Bitterbugs you can get from Poker Farm, like I said. Cactus flowers, just search herbs in the desert and you'll find quite a lot of them. But that's Azure. That's Pink Rathian. Very much similar to your typical Rathian, but that's a close-up. But just faster, stronger, and a little more annoying. So I hope this helped you. If it did, go ahead and leave a like. It does help kind of get people to see this, and maybe they can learn something too in their struggles against some of the large monsters in this fantastic game. If there's anything you want me to do differently, or if there's anything you particularly liked, let me know. I'd love to hear from you. I'm always trying to make this series better or improve, or it's good to hear what I'm doing well, so I don't change it in the future. And if you aren't subscribed already, get subscribed. We're going to be going through every large monster in the game, and the next one is a doozy. So make sure you're subscribed for next week's one so you can see that one. But that's going to do it. I hope this helped you, like I said. And until next time, happy hunting.